Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Kaan, also known as Jedi Jester, and today we've got another FIFA 21 tutorial video for you. Passing is a really key feature in FIFA 21, so we are going to give you our top 5 tips about passing. Passing is probably the most important thing when it comes to building up your own attack. With the perfect pass flow, you can create tons of dangerous situations where your opponent stands helpless. But there are some important aspects that you need to pay attention to become a very efficient passer. In this tutorial, we are going to cover those aspects. Before we get started, I'd like to talk about our individual coaching services provided by Bpart Gaming. If you're interested in getting better at FIFA, our individual one-to-one coaching might be the right thing for you. Our Pro, Top 100, and Elite coaches will help you understand the basics and advanced techniques of FIFA while analyzing your gameplay to be able to take you to the next levels in short notice. There are 4 different tiers, just to make sure you can start off with the coaching on the desired level. In addition to English and German, we are proud to announce that we are offering from now on coaching in Spanish. To get more information, you can visit our coaching website. The link is down in the description below. When it comes to passing, decision making is a key thing. You will have multiple passing angles at a time, which means multiple scenarios to work with. So before you pass, you need to select the most efficient option. The efficiency is all about the future of the build-up. Once you pass the ball into the wrong direction, or let's say you select the less efficient option, then you might be stuck in a position in which you end up losing the ball. That's why it's important that you decide to pass the ball to a player who will also have more opportunities to play with, so your game plan becomes less predictable. Try to pass the ball to more open spaces to players with multiple options and see the difference. Your opponent will have a hard time, and this becomes a really strong weapon. In this first example, I'm trying to start off the attack from my defensive line. Even though I have the opportunity to go for a risky long pass, I decide not to and I hold on to short passing. As you can see, I send the ball often towards the wing, but I do not commit to that because I know if I have the ball in the center of the pitch, I will have more options than committing to only one side of the pitch. After a couple successful passes which led the ball to the open space towards my midfielder, I made a diagonal run and passed the ball in front of my winger, who will be then one-on-one with the keeper. The only thing that helped me here is that I was able to remain calm, and with that I was able to make good passing decisions. In another scenario, I am under heavy pressure, and the decisions I'd make will show if I lose the ball or create myself a goal scoring opportunity out of this pressure. The first thing that comes to my mind is that I need to send out a long ball towards the winger because both players on that wing are trying to get the ball from my player. But since they're approaching my player from a frontal angle, both my ground and lifted through balls could be intercepted, which will be a bad passing decision. That's why I decided to go for one extra pass towards the side player and then send the ball wide towards the wing. So as you can see, passing is not just about capability but also choosing the right one at the right time. This is a real problem that most of the players face while passing around. Sometimes because of the intensity level of the game, we do make rush decisions and try to pass the ball as fast as possible. This could lead to simple but serious mistakes that would prevent any positive outcome. Passing the ball into a direction you're not facing is the best example for that. You need to deliver the ball into a frontal direction you're facing. Any other pass than that has an increased chance of failing, either with bad direction or lowered power. Let's put it into simple geometry. This is the frontal angle you can pass to. You have 90-degree angle towards the left and 90-degree angle towards the right. Any pass which extends that value should be considered as a wrong attempt. To be able to pass the ball into any direction you are not facing, you simply need to rotate your players so that your player has a new frontal angle. This could be simply done with your left stick, or to be safe while your opponent is closing you down, use the basic skill moves such as ball roll or fake shots to be able to get a different angle while you shield the ball away from the defender. If you are interested in those skill moves, we already have dedicated skill moves guides in our channel. You can take a look at them by following the links down in the description. In the first example, my opponent has a solid counter-attack opportunity up until one point. Once he receives the ball, he wants to deliver the pass towards the running lane of the player who is coming from the back. That is a really good decision, but the execution is poor since the passer is facing away from the direction that the pass needs to go. As we mentioned before, that reduces the chance of a successful pass. He should have turned around with one more step towards his intended passing point before attempting a pass. This is a little mistake, but those little mistakes decide if a good opportunity goes to garbage. In the next position, I am aware that my player is making a run and I want to pass the ball towards his running lane, but I'm completely facing the other direction. To be able to pass the ball into the optimal position, I need to rotate my player so he will have a better angle. I take one step towards my player's right, and then perform a reverse elastico. This will change the direction of my player and push the ball a bit forward, so once my running player has a more advantaged position, I can pass the ball. Since I have corrected the angle of the player who passes, the ball goes more accurate and the running player will be one-on-one with the keeper. One of the most important things to pay attention to is that you know what the receiving player is doing before you pass the ball to him. He might be standing still or he might be starting a run. You can clearly understand it by taking a quick look at his body language. The automatic movement of the players mostly depends on the instructions you give them on the tactics screen, but you can actually control specific individuals throughout the position. By pressing L1 and R1, you can decide if a player makes a run or comes back. The player affected by this is the closest one, which is faced by the player who is selected. So once I press the L1 button, the player I face starts to make a run. The R1 button would cancel this run and even make him come towards my selected player. So using those two buttons will give you control over the attacker movement and help you decide when you pass and where your player receives the ball. In an example, my midfielder gets the ball from his own field and goes out for an attack. He sends a long ball towards the striker and he rushes forward to be able to complete the counterattack. I don't rush with the striker and wait for the midfielder to complete his run. Since my striker who needs to pass is covered by two defenders, I do not pass the ball to the running midfielder directly. The striker has to turn around before passing. Things might go wrong as he will lose some time while turning around, especially with two defenders closing in. Instead, I pass the ball to the wider winger, which has a better angle, to send a through ball to the midfielder who runs. Looking at where my players positioned themselves and seeing the run of the midfielder helped me get dangerous with this attack. In a second example, I'm going on a 4v3 attack, looking at my strikers all the time. My striker who has been making a lot of runs stops. Instead of sending him a through ball, I sent him a lifted short pass. If I had sent him a through ball without realizing that he stopped, that would be an easy turnover. Right before he controls the ball, I see the other strikers run in behind the last defensive player, so I instantly rotate the receiving player towards that direction to be able to get a better passing angle. I pass the ball again and I score. It is not enough only to observe your attacker's movement, but also you need to watch out for the defender's movement. Most of you will encounter opponents with different defensive approaches. Some of them will press at you straight away, some of them are just going to try to cut the passing lanes without getting their defenders forward, and some of them are just going to be the mix of that. Key point is that you have to observe and adapt yourself to their defending styles. If you only pass with what your muscle memory tells you, you are going to fail at some point because people can adapt too and they will eventually counter you. So you have to see what is going on the pitch, you have to think, and you have to play smart. As you can see in this position, the opponent only tries to cover the passing lanes instead of pushing and pressing forward. He is consistently circling between two passing options. Here you need to tell yourself that you don't need to pass the ball unless you're facing pressure. Patience is the key and you have to avoid the pass because that is exactly what the opponent expects from you. In another position, my opponent tries to bait me with his wing back, so I would pass the ball to my winger and limit my options only towards the wing. I observe his movements and decide not to pass because, like in the previous position, he could have intercepted the ball. I do not face any pressure, so I keep the ball, turn my player towards the back, and with two passes I get to the lower side of the pitch with a through ball. My midfielder there has a lot of space with multiple passing opportunities. My opponent presses at me and thinks that I would pass the ball towards the center. I see this and dodge that passing lane. Instead, I pass the ball towards the wing with a 1-2 pass, and since my opponent moved his player to cut the other passing lane, I have the man advantage. Since my opponent has to recover from his own mistake, I do not rush and take a look at how he moves his defenders. He opens up some space for me again and I pass the ball back to my winger, who has a perfect angle to pass or cross. Once I see that my opponent doesn't switch to the defenders inside the box and has a fair distance with the selected player towards mine, I send the ball with a strong ground pass towards my forward and finish off the job. Last but not least, the type of the pass. Depending on different situations, you will need different passes by using different body combinations. This is also very related to the other tips we mentioned, like knowing where your player moves and how opponent places defenders. As an example, passing the ball with the R1 button sends out a very strong short pass, where double tapping the pass button gives the ball a lift so that no one can touch it from the ground. Thanks to Cruzawa, we already have a guide on how to use different combinations of through balls in different situations. You can check that out by clicking the link down in the description. That's it for today's guide, and I hope really that this video makes you more efficient in ways of passing. Remember, good build-up is always possible through efficient passing. I hope you guys enjoyed the video as much as I did. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you don't want to miss out the upcoming tutorials. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.